Hello YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic. And welcome back to my YouTube channel everybody. In today's video we are reviewing possibly one of the most anticipated films of the entire year, The Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, this is an interesting one to talk about, because so I of course have my thoughts on it. It's I know I'm just gonna go ahead and start talking about what were my thoughts going into this movie. I know I kind of do an introduction. Of course, let me down below what were your thoughts on Fantastic Four First Steps. So going into this movie, obviously this past week I was very excited for it because I loved the buzz that it's getting and saying it's like Marvel's next masterpiece and all that stuff. And when they first announced that they're making this movie, I was both excited because they're bringing Marvel's first family to the big screen under the Marvel Studios banner, so that's exciting. But I didn't really know the premise of what the movie is. What is it trying to deliver? Is it trying to be like Guardians of the Galaxy or the next Avengers? Like, what is it trying to be? Like, obviously I knew I was probably going to get an Incredibles vibe from it because essentially the Incredibles was essentially inspired by the Fantastic Four. But I was thinking, because the Fantastic Four movies, they don't really have the best track record. So if anything, this was kind of like the Marvel's last attempt to make an actual really good, like, Fantastic Four movie. But the thing is, what does a great Fantastic Four movie look like? And basically, you had it take place on a different Earth, take place in the 1960s, but it's a retrofuturistic version of that. And I thought that was honestly a really cool aspect about the movie, especially in the trailers. And then for years and then ever since they announced it back in 2020, there were literally all these fan casts of like John Krasinski, and we got that in Multiverse of Madness, but then he got noodled up by Wanda. We got Chris Evans' Johnny Storm back in Deadpool Wolverine, but he got killed easily. And so like all these fan casts, and then on Valentine's Day last year, we literally got the announcement for who our Fantastic Four is going to be, and the rest is history. And then, of course, we got an announcement that Galactus is going to be in here, Silver Surfer's going to be a girl in here, all this random news. I'm going to take off this hat because I don't like the way it's showing this, and then it can't really show much of the hat, so I'm going to take it off. So yeah, all that stuff, and I was thinking, and this also goes to, like, I love Marvel movies, but there has to be a certain point that has to hook me. Not a gimmick. To be honest, I don't really care about the gimmicks anymore. No Way Home only worked because that was something we've always wanted to see. All three live-action Spider-Man team up together. But when you take something like that with Deadpool and Wolverine, it doesn't really work because the story doesn't work well. With this one, this is an original story. Well, kind of an original story. So, what did I think about it? And I thought it was absolutely freaking fantastic. And there are honestly so many layers to go into this movie. First off, I guess we should just talk about the cast. So, the cast was something that I was a little bit hesitant on going into the film. Mainly because, when they first announced it that Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ibn Mos-Baccarat, and Joseph Quinn were going to be our Fantastic Four, I kind of didn't see them. Now, some of them I did see. I kind of did see Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, but not fully because he played Eddie in Stranger Things, which was a very, like, different character. And he also played that character in A Quiet Place Day One, which was like a very British character, but he kind of had some funness to him. Ibn Mos Baccarat, I thought was actually the most accurate version because he's going to be CGI, so you're basically just hearing his voice through emotion. But the big ones I was really nervous for was Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal because, and I want to talk about Pedro Pascal first with as Reed Richards. Um, and I wasn't nervous about him because he is another big actor. That he's in another movie that like he's literally in like 3 different movies this year plus The Last of Us. That wasn't the reason why I was nervous for it. The reason why I was nervous for him is because I don't really see him as Reed Richards. I see John Krasinski more as Reed Richards than uh, Pedro Pascal ever does. And maybe it's just me that I kind of like John Krasinski more, and he just kind of fits it better. I don't know. And to have him kind of direct that movie would have been really, I think would have been really cool. And if anything, if Matt Shackman didn't work for this film, I probably would have chosen John Krasinski to direct and act and star in this movie. But that didn't end up happening. But honestly, that would be kind of a weird movie though. But I thought Pedro Pascal really did something fantastic with this version of Reed, and I think we'll get throughout this when we talk about the Fantastic Four here, is that this movie really makes you care about the characters, and therefore this movie really makes you care about Reed and his social intellect. That he is known to be the smartest man alive, the smartest man in the entire Marvel universe, up there with Tony Stark, Hank Pym, possibly Riri Williams, and Peter Parker, all these people. And what's so interesting about him is that he basically says in the movie that like he needs to be 10 steps ahead so that way he can hurt the person that person that wants to hurt them before they can hurt them. And I thought it was a really interesting thing to where like there's a storyline where a baby's on the way and he literally tracks down all these crime organizations that are happening in different boroughs of New York. And I'm like, damn, this man is actually really like smart to where he's like locating the crime bosses. He's not even just smart in science. He's somewhat also smart. He's become because he's become a superhero, he's also become smart in strategy. And I think that was a really good use of it. It was a really good use of his character. And um but at the same time, as much as that is great about his character, that's also what makes him kind of flawed in a way to where as great as it is, it kind of affects his relationships to where it affects his relationship with Sue, which I guess we'll talk about Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm now. This was another one that I was a little bit nervous for because of course I like Vanessa Kirby. I liked her in the Mission Impossible movies that she was in. I liked her in Hobbs and Shaw. And I did like her in that one movie with Hugh Jackman, The Son. But unfortunately, I kind of feel like that when they announced her, I didn't really see her as Sue Storm. Mainly because she's always played these kind of goofy, mysterious characters and not really a resemblance of a good mother. And that's basically who Sue Storm is in this movie, and I don't really know if I was seeing that with her. And obviously, she kept a really good English accent, and I thought that was good. American accent, I mean, and she handled the role really well. I will say I kind of wish we had a little bit more moments with her because everybody was kind of saying she was a standout, but I really did like the way they handled her, to where, there's like a whole plot line with Galactus wanting their baby, and there's like a moment where Reed is trying to figure everything out, and because Sue knows Reed, she knows that he was thinking about maybe giving the baby to Galactus so he could spare the Earth, and it's like that's actually insane. But and it's like it in the argument they have there, it's like it feels real, and it feels like a real couple, like a real couple fight and a real couple conflict. And I really like the family dynamics in here, like the parents, the two uncles, or I guess the brothers. That's the whole thing. The whole family dynamic in here was really awesome here. Almost felt like Guardians of the Galaxy in a way, but also Incredibles too. So yeah, that's enough on their part. Let's talk about Johnny Storm, played by Joseph Quinn. I, of course, liked him in a few things. I liked him in Stranger Things. I liked him in A Quiet Place Day 1. And after seeing the trailers and how he acts in this film, I thought they did a really great portrayal of Johnny Storm, to where he wasn't just the over the top ladies' man where he's flirting with all the nurses and he's flirting with everybody and he's just this straight up jokey character. This guy was able to be a jokester, but he was still able to stand on business. And honestly, I thought that was like such a great great part of his character. And honestly, he is kind of the comedic relief in the film. And I think that's another one of the film's strengths, is that the movie doesn't feel like past MCU movies where it's just spraying every single type of joke in your face. It lets you, it throws a joke at you, but it's more of family joking, like how a family jokes around. And I think that's actually kind of cool. And I like that the flirting side of him still stays, where they do that with Silver Surfer and he's kind of flirting with her. And I thought that was an interesting character trait. And the CGI on him was really good whenever he was like on fire, but we'll get to that in a minute. Though I do kind of have an issue with it though. With especially with him specifically. Then we have the Thing, another special effect type of character. I thought that the CGI was flawless. And as Ebon Moss-Bachrach played him, I thought he played this character very well. To be honest, throughout the entire movie, I was kind of getting Raphael vibes from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012. I was getting a lot of vibes from that. And I really liked the way he played into the film, to where it's like he felt like a big brother. He knows things. He's kind of smart, but he's more of the big gun. But he's not treated like Hulk. He's more of treated like an intellect. And I thought he's probably my favorite Fantastic Four character, like of the ones that I am fond of. I don't know if I would say he's my favorite character in this movie, but he's definitely my favorite Fantastic Four member of like the lineup in like media in general, because in the Fantastic Four film from 2005, his story is incredibly sad, to where basically, he's a guy made of rocks now because of the cosmic rays, and he is having trouble fitting into society, to where his wife divorces him. And he's a very sad character, almost like Rocket Raccoon in a way. And they don't do too much with that kind of storyline in this one. But I think the way they handle his character was pretty well done. And I love that we actually get the clobbering time scene. That's pretty cool. It was only for a quick second, and my theater cheered at that moment, so that was really cool. So yeah, we got the characters out of the way. So let's talk about our villains with Silver Surfer and Galactus. What do I think about Silver Surfer? I thought she was great. I thought Julia Gardner played her excellently. And I liked her performance. I liked her character. I like all the scenes she was in. I like all the Silver Surfer action, which the action side of things is going to be one of my negatives, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But that whole action scene was absolutely amazing. Let's see, what else is here? We also got the Galactus. Galactus is a huge motherfucker. His introduction was awesome, and that's another positive I want to talk about later with the special effects. And with Galactus, I really just love the way they handled him, to where he is just this big raging monster, to where I'm like, how exactly is this going to work in real life? Because in a live action movie, because last time we saw Galactus in live action, he was like a cloud, and now this one is like a storming beast of legends, and this was insane, and his voice is absolutely deep and incredible. He's quite mesmerizing. Um, it almost kind of reminded me of the Other from the Avengers. Um, and yeah, I guess that's it for Galactus. Really, the guy that played him was really cool, and it was honestly crazy. I guess the other thing we got to talk about here is really just the world building. So obviously, one of the big things that this movie is doing is that it's taking place in a different Earth, and it's taking place in the 1960s, but it's a different version of the 1960s. It's different Earth, different time period, different version of the time period. Where the 1960s, you get a flying fantastic car, you get all the colors and billboards. You got like Times Square where all the monitors are basically like giant TVs. You have like the way that all these news reports are, they're like done in a 60s style, or even in the way like they were like doing certain images on the screen, like it felt like a 60s type thing, and I thought that was honestly really cool and fascinating. And I think it could be that the reason they incorporated so much of the television aspect of it, probably because, one, because WandaVision was a big inspiration because Matt Shakman directed WandaVision, but also, I believe television was a really big thing in the 60s. If you don't remember, Sesame Street, one of the biggest television shows of the 1960s. Obviously, it was in November of 1969, but it was still a big show during that time. And so I just thought the way they handled it was really well done, and just the world building towards like the whole architecture of everything, and the fact that like some of this world was actually like real sets. Some of this stuff was actually real, and it was really cool. And honestly, I haven't seen this much of great world building since like the first Black Panther movie, where we're in Africa, we're with, African superheroes, but we're in an Africa that is different with retrofuturistic technology, and I think that's really, really cool. And it's not even just the Fantastic car that flies. It's literally the cars themselves. We have police cars flying in the air. We literally have all of them doing that. And I'm like, that's so cool. That's so cool, man. And I love the idea that Reed Richards is basically one of the biggest inventors of the 20th century. So where basically he invented like these stoplights. He invented all these inventions. And I'm like, this is just so cool, man. Like the way they crafted this world. Another thing that I really loved about it is, of course, just the special effects and all the space stuff. So, I heard one of the big standouts they had a space sequence in the movie, and the space sequence, the entire scene from when they're in the spaceship to when they meet Galactus to when they're trying to run away, it is absolutely astounding. I guess we'll talk about the special effects with the characters real quick. I love the special effects of Johnny whenever he's lit on fire and stuff, and I think it all looks really good, even with the orange eyes and stuff. I also liked all the special effects for the Thing. I thought he was cool, and especially when he was walking on the street, I literally heard every footstep he was making. I heard every clap he was doing. Like he felt heavy. He felt like a rock. Like I like the detail they put into that. I also did kind of like Sue Storm's powers a little bit. It just kind of felt like she was blasting, like, invisible rainbows. Like, phasing, I don't know. Kind of like Ghosts. And then Mr. Fantastic's powers I thought was kind of cool. But there were times where it kind of felt CGI a little bit, but I don't know. But the special effects of like the everything, the cinematography in this movie. Obviously, we're not in space for a whole lot of the film, but every time when we went to space, and I saw this movie in 3D. When we get the introduction to Galactus, and I don't know if it was just me, and I had my 3D glasses on. I literally took them off to make sure I wasn't tripping out. They kept the Fantastic Four in the same frame as Galactus was showing up, to where they showed the small little bodies just down here. Just hang on. Let me show you. It was like down here, and then Galactus is like up here, and I'm like, and they do this for like 2 different shots, and I'm like, this just looks fantastic. This looks incredible, and it looks great for 3D, and I don't know if it'll look the same in like if you watch it normally, but it almost reminded me like I was watching a video game a little bit, but in a good way, like when Mario was about to face Bowser. It almost looked like that, but this was more epicer. This was more awesome. And I really enjoyed that aspect about the film. And I just really loved all the shots. There were just so many shots in here that I just absolutely loved. I love their spacesuits. I thought that was great. Trying to think of other great things. I love the post-credit scenes. The post-credit scene with a certain aspect of Doom was really good. Let's see, what else is in here to talk about? I think that's it for now. All right, I'm gonna start heading into some of my negatives. So, I guess we'll talk about the special effects just to get out of the way. To be honest, I don't have many issues. Most of them are kind of nitpicks. I think some of the special effects, as great as they are, there were times where I was a little bit confused. Like there are literally many scenes where Johnny is doing his flame on, and he literally comes back normal, and his clothes look completely fine. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but like, how the hell is he able to burn? Now, it makes sense a little bit with the spacesuit because it says it's fire resistant, but for a certain amount of time. But, like, does he get fireproof clothes? Like, are all of his clothes that he has in the tower, like, fireproof for him to do that? Same thing with Reed. Do all of his clothes match the superpowers that they have? Like, to make them invisible? Like, is that what they did? Like, did they invent a bunch of clothes that they can wear to blend in with their powers? Like, it's kind of weird, but it kind of makes sense, but I don't know. And then I guess a little bit of the CGI baby stuff was a little bit weird, but honestly, there weren't many times where I didn't notice that I never noticed the CGI baby. I was okay with it, to be honest. I do wish that the film had a little bit more action. I know it wasn't really an action-based story, but I liked the action that we got, but I kind of wish, especially for these types of characters, I wish we had a little bit more action. Now, granted, we probably could get more of it in Avengers Doomsday, especially with them interacting with all the different heroes in Avengers, and Thunderbolts, and X-Men. But I think that leads to my other problem with the film, is that the last few superhero movies have kind of been really short. Brave New World, under 2 hours. Thunderbolts, under 2 hours. Over 2 hours. Like, over 2 hours and 5 minutes or whatever. Superman, 2 hours and 9 minutes. This movie is 1 hour and 55 minutes. Which, it somehow was able to manage, it managed to make it work really well in that time frame. And it managed to make it work and have good pacing, but at the same time, I'm like, I just want to see, like, I just want to see more of this. Like, honestly, that's my main issue. I just want more of this because I was so invested in this whole world. Like, I just want to see more of it. And maybe when the MCU reboot happens and maybe we can get a sequel for this film, I would totally be down for that. If we get it in this same world, I would totally love that. But yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts on it. I'm trying to think of something else I had. Oh yeah, okay. So one of them is not really an issue, but one is. As much as I respect that this movie takes place on a separate Earth and it helps to tell the story forward, to develop this world, to do these characters right, to where it doesn't have to explain why the Fantastic Four weren't there to stop Thanos during Infinity War and stuff, it does kind of undermine the fact that this is not really a MCU timeline film. So it's like, how do you confirm that it's in the MCU? It's like, because there's literally, like, there's no mention of any MCU characters. Like, literally, all of this stuff is original. And, I mean, obviously, we've had a Johnny Storm in the MCU. We've had a Reed Richards. This is our first time having a Sue Storm or a Thing. And so, it was a little bit, like, odd to me that the fact they wanted to make this, because, like, honestly, I feel like you could have, I still feel like you could have probably done the Fantastic Four in the 1960s, like, do a period piece. Oh yeah, that's something else I want to talk about. I love that this film is another period piece in the MCU, where we had Captain America the First Avenger as in the 1940s, and Captain Marvel in the 1990s. And honestly, I feel like that this movie could be the next step of delivering just more MCU films that are in different time periods, and I think that this could be another step of that. They could have done this with Blade, where they take place in the 1930s, but they can't do that really anymore. But yeah, with it taking place in a different universe, I just feel like I feel like they could have found some way to make it take place in the 1960s, or even if they wanted to go better, they could have had Galactus win in the end, and that universe gets destroyed, and they do whatever they can to, protect it. And when we see the Fantastic Four ship, that's how we know why the Fantastic Four are here in our universe. I think that would have been a lot more interesting than what they did here. That it is kind of weak the way they defeated Galactus, but honestly, I found all the setup and the final battle was pretty good. It had some good moments, but it's kind of like, it was also kind of disappointing. Also, I really did love the score. I think that this is one of the best scores in the MCU for me. Another thing I want to talk about here is kind of like some Incredibles comparisons. So I love the Incredibles movies. I'm actually going to be talking about them soon when I do my Pixar tier list when I go see Elio. I don't think it's in theaters anymore, but I will be bootlegging it next week. But so I love the Incredibles movies, and I of course have grown on the first movie a lot, obviously because I love the Incredibles and I really like the characters. With the second movie, I have always confirmed that I love the second movie more, because as much as I love the first film, they don't really dive deep into the story of superheroes being illegal, but the second film does it expertly. I like that the first film focuses on the family. The second film is able to expand on that story, but also the family, and explore that story again. And I think that was honestly something really interesting. And to kind of switch roles with Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible. Why am I talking about the Incredibles when I should be talking about Fantastic Four? The reason for this is because I feel like that the plot of this film, where Galactus wants Rich Franklin, kind of feels like if Galactus did win, it would be an alternate version of what the Incredibles would have been. Of what if Syndrome actually got away with Jack and he took him away, and it's up to the Incredibles in the next movie to go save him, and we need more superheroes. We need Frozone, and we need all the help we can get, and Syndrome has become more powerful by studying this person and creating more powerful robots, and gaining more armies, getting more supervillains, and all of that. That would have been a really cool film, a really cool set of movies. And then the third movie could literally just top it off and be a great, just overall great superhero film. And Brad Bird could still direct it. I think that would have been a better version, to be honest. But that's just kind of me. All right, so I think that's it for my review of Fantastic Four: First Steps. I guess now, what are my theories for how this film is going to impact the MCU? I think for the first time, I'm actually like excited for the Fantastic Four because literally I didn't realize of how badly they were treated in Marvel recently. Because like, you look at that Marvel poster up there. They're not in that poster. They literally, like, for the last decade or so, Marvel's been trying to forget them like they ever existed. And now they're finally able to shine and be in the spotlight, and I think it's really cool. And I'm liking that we are actually caring about these characters, and the fact that we're probably going to be able to see them a lot more. Maybe we can get Johnny Storm and Peter Parker interact. Who knows? I think that would be cool. As for my theories of what, obviously the next time we see him are going to be in Avengers Doomsday, and so my theory for that is obviously Galactus doesn't win. So how are they going to appear in the Fantastic Four ship in the MCU in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene? My theory is that because Doctor Doom is now trying to steal Franklin, the Fantastic Four are going to try to fight for him back, and they kind of lose, so they have to retreat. And they somehow skip a beam to our universe. So I think that would be kind of interesting, but that's just a theory. And it could be a great opening to the movie, to be honest. All right. As for my thoughts on the MCU right now, to be honest, I think the last few projects have actually been pretty great. Obviously, I wasn't, like, for this year, I wasn't a huge fan of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I liked it. I thought it was okay, but I didn't love it. I'm not the biggest fan of Brave New World. I kind of get disappointed every time I think about it, because it's like, sure, the Red Hulk scene is pretty cool, but like, the rest of the movie doesn't really help. And I mean, the stuff with the new Falcon and Isaiah Bradley's character was kind of cool and really good, but honestly, the movie was just kind of boring, to be honest. And then we get Thunderbolts, which kind of brought back a great connectivity of the MCU, but also felt like it stood out. And then this movie just kind of feels like it doesn't connect as much, but it does a great job of being its own thing and being something fresh and unique. And I thought that was really interesting. And for the first time ever, I'm actually very excited for the next MCU films that are literally down the line, which are Spider-Man Brand New Day, Avengers Doomsday, and Avengers Secret Wars. And I guess we can talk about all three of them since they are the next three. So we'll talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day first. This is probably my least anticipated one of them. I'm still very excited for it, but however, there are a few things that I'm a little bit nervous on, but I am very excited for it. Of course, they just confirmed that this week it's going to be a street level movie with Punisher. He's going to be fighting gangs in the streets of New York. Hopefully, he's going to be fighting street level crime. He's going to be doing all that. We're getting a winning Spider-Man film. I love that they're going to be going practical with this movie, and I love the story that we're actually getting a traditional Spider-Man. It sounds all great. I am still a little bit nervous because I hope that it's not a film where we're doing the street level stuff in another place, and we can just keep that in New York. I really hope they don't bring in the Hulk in here, even though that moment in the comics is kind of cool. I don't know if I want to see that. I'm not really interested in it, and to be honest, I prefer we stay with that with Avengers, with Ultimate Spider-Man. So I think that would be okay. But overall, I'm still very excited, and I want to see a trailer for it already. Avengers Doomsday. This one sounds pretty great. I'm excited for the cast that is involved in here. Because honestly, there's a lot of different character interactions that could be done in here. Sorry, I gotta take a drink. There's a lot of characters in here, and of course, this is like the Infinity War of the multiverse saga. And of course, Infinity War is my favorite movie of all time. So, if the Russo brothers want to make another Infinity War type movie, but maybe do something a little different, hey, I'm all down for it. I just hope that they do the production right, because honestly, while the Russo brothers have not had the greatest run since they finished the MCU movies, their best strengths that they've proven is that they are able to make great MCU movies. So this has to be another banger. And then we get Secret Wars, which honestly I think deserves to be absolutely flawless. Obviously, it's probably going to be Cameo Palooza because we're literally bringing all these different characters in. But literally, I am so excited for Secret Wars. I'm excited for all the plot that's going in. And I really hope that as much as they want to do the Cameo Palooza, they're able to keep a really sharp and centered story that I think all of us will enjoy, and I think it will be entertaining and enjoyable. And I think that's really it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.